Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be talking about some amazing books for beginners. Now the books that I have put together in this list are really engaging, they are fast paced, they are easy to read and they will make you feel a lot of emotions. And I feel like these books are perfect for those of you who want to begin your reading journey and want to fall in love with reading. So without further ado, let's just get started. The first book that I want to talk about is The Liberation of Sita by Volga. Now, this is a retelling of the Ramayana and it's from Sita's perspective. Now, this book was originally written in Telugu, and if I have one criticism about the book is its translation. The translation can be a little bit stilted at times and can get a little bit strange. Like the translation from Telugu to English can feel a little bit weird at times. But the thought-provokingness of this book and just the emotions that are conveyed through Volga's writing are so powerful that you won't even notice the weird translation, I feel, because this book just makes you feel so many things. Now, this book is basically a collection of short stories and it lends a voice to the lesser known female characters of the Ramayana. And these female characters are basically those who have been wronged in the epic somehow. What I really loved about this book was its liberating take on life, and also it really harps on the point of why independence is important for women. This book really is a refreshing take on the Ramayana, and I feel that it does a much better job at capturing the inner turmoil that Sita might have felt. It does a much better job at that as compared to another retelling of the Ramayana, which is The Forest of Enchantments. So definitely check out The Liberation of Sita by Volga. The second book that I want to talk about is Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. Now, this book is also another philosophical book that imparts some amazing life lessons. This book is a compilation of meetings between the author Mitch Albom and his college professor and mentor Maury. Now, Maury has been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and in the last few months of Maury's life, Mitch and Maury reconnect after almost 20 years, and it's in these meetings that basically Maury teaches Mitch all of his lessons that he has learned throughout life. The lessons imparted are very simple and they're basically lessons about how to lead a full and enriched life. But what I like about them is that they are just the lessons you need to kind of take a step back and evaluate what you've been doing with your life and exactly what you need to do to change kind of like your mindset and your outlook towards life. And what I love about Mitch Albom's writing is that unlike other self-help books, this book doesn't feel very overbearing. Like the way that these lessons are imparted feel like you're being told these things by your grandmother or your grandfather, and it doesn't feel like these lessons are being shoved down your throat by some capitalist weirdo who's trying to sell you stuff. So it's a very, very endearing book. It has some really simple lessons and you should definitely check it out. The third book that I want to talk about is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book is the best friends to lovers book that I have ever read. It is so cute and it is so sweet. I absolutely loved this book. Now, this book basically follows two college friends, Alex and Poppy, who are complete opposites of one another, but they have a very, very strong friendship. And one of the traditions that they have in their friendship is to go on a trip during the summer every year. And it's this trip that both of them look forward to the most during like the whole year, because it's this trip where they can actually spend quality time with one another. And also it's during this trip where they feel most at home. But one year, something happens on the trip that ruins their friendship forever. So what follows in this book is kind of like how they rekindle their friendship that has been broken for 2 years. This story is told through two timelines. So you have the current timeline where they're trying to rekindle their friendship, and there are also kind of like flashbacks to their previous years of their friendship and the previous trips that they have taken, which really gives you their backstory, and it really tells you about, like, in depth about the nature of their relationship and the nature of their friendship over the years. Like I said, this book is sweet, it's cute, and it's the perfect easy breezy love story that will keep you hooked. The next book is Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. But this is another rom-com, easy breezy love story kind of book, and this one is also just really, really sweet. So this follows our main character Laura, who believes in fate and believes in destiny, and she's on a work trip, and what she does is that she accidentally, like at baggage claim during the work trip, she picks up someone else's bag. Now she doesn't know that she's picked up someone else's bag, so when she goes home and she opens it, she finds some items in that bag that make her feel very excited, because she realizes first it's a men's suitcase. It has her favorite book in it. It has piano sheet music of her favorite song. And so she decides that this mystery man is basically the man of her dreams. And so on this work trip, she tries to track this man down because, you know, it's destiny and fate that she has to meet this man through a lost suitcase. Now, I read this book last December when I was in quarantine, and that was the perfect time to read this, I feel, because this book just has the best kind of escapism. It's a travel-themed romance. It has a protagonist who believes in love and fate and destiny, who's very optimistic about love, and that's super cute to read about. And it's just a very, very sweet love story, so definitely check this out as well, especially if you love travel and like this island destination in your love stories. The next book that I want to talk about is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this on my channel, but I am a huge MCU fan, and my favorite character is Loki. Now, that might have something to do with the fact that the gorgeous and perfect Tom Hiddleston plays that character. But nevertheless, I still find Loki's character very sassy, very mischievous, and just very, very interesting to watch on screen. And so, reading the actual Norse myths, which are about these characters, Thor, Odin, and Loki, was such a treat. Now, the first thing to understand is that the actual Norse myths are very different from what the MCU and Marvel has done to those characters, but it was just so interesting to read about them. For me, it was interesting to see the difference between what Marvel has done versus what the actual myths are. And the thing about Norse mythology is that it is not as complicated as Greek mythology or even Hindu mythology for that matter. And that's why I feel like if you're looking for mythological fiction, Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman is a great place to start for beginners because it is quite easy to understand the entire world. Also, Neil Gaiman's writing is very crisp and clear, and that also makes this book a little bit fast-paced. I highly recommend you guys listening to this book on audiobook. I think it's available on Storytel if I'm not mistaken, because it's narrated by Neil Gaiman himself. So like listening to the audiobook and also following along with a physical copy, I feel really enhances the entire reading experience and also makes it a lot easier to understand. The next book that I want to talk about is Train to Pakistan by Khushwant Singh. Now, this book is an Indian historical fiction book that is set during the partition of India and Pakistan. This book is set in a fictional village where a majority of the people who live in that village are either Sikh or Muslim. And prior to the partition, both these communities live very harmoniously in this village. But the politics and the political tension of the partition lead to rifts between these communities, and basically just chaos ensues between these communities in this village during the partition, and all of this is captured beautifully and heartbreakingly by Khushwant Singh in this book. This book just feels so real, and it feels like this is probably what would have happened during partition. Like, you get to experience the emotions of the people, you get to experience just the horrificness of this entire time in history, and you get to feel all of those feels when you're reading this book. I feel like the partition of India and Pakistan is something that we learn in history in school, but historical fiction books like Train to Pakistan lend the emotions to that tragedy, so you really understand just how horrible the partition of India was, because you can actually, like I mentioned before, feel those emotions. This book is very thought-provoking, it's very heart-wrenching, it definitely made me cry. But what I loved about this book was just the insight into how these villagers might have felt, what they felt about gaining independence from the British, and just insight into the minds of these people that went through this complete tragedy. The next book that I want to talk about is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Oof, what can I say about this book? This book is the story of Hassan and Amir. This is a story of friendship, of family, of love, of betrayal, and of atonement. This story starts in Afghanistan and then takes us to the US and then back to Afghanistan. And through all of these changing settings and changing landscapes, it basically tells us just how the lives of these characters are impacted by the changing politics in Afghanistan, and also how their lives are impacted because they suddenly become immigrants in a foreign country in the US. And just how these political situations as well as their family situations just interweave to give such a heartbreaking story of these characters. And that's what I love about Khaled Hosseini's writing, just how seamlessly he can weave together the politics of Afghanistan with the lives of these characters, and how it forms such a gripping and heartbreaking and emotional story. It's just wonderful. Khaled Hosseini's writing is absolutely beautiful. His writing can be a little bit tougher for beginners, but I just feel that the emotions again conveyed in this book are so strong that you will be able to follow along and you will be able to understand and you will be hooked throughout, because this story is just absolutely beautiful. And the last book that I want to talk about is Raptor Rising by Anjali Joshi. Now, this is an Indian mystery thriller book, and what's really interesting about this book is that the main killer in this book, like there's a serial killer in this book, it's a woman. And I've never read a lot of fiction in which the killer or the serial killer in the book is actually a woman. So I found that very interesting about this book. The other really interesting thing about this book is the way that she kills. Basically, she's hunting a lot of known political and like celebrity figures, and while she kills them, she films herself killing these people, and then she uploads this kill film on the dark web where she sells it for money. And so the book basically follows a policeman who is trying to catch this killer, and basically it's the chore police chore police chase that you follow in this book. And it is just very dark and very twisted. The language is a little bit poetic but still simple enough to understand, and it's super gripping. Like, you cannot put this book down once you start reading it. And it's just such a bizarre story, but still grounded in reality in a way, and it just keeps you hooked. It's fast-paced. It feels like you're watching a movie in your head when you're reading this book, because the author is also a screenplay writer, and so she's written it like how she would write a movie, and so it plays like a movie in your head when you're reading this book. And so it's just really fast-paced and gripping. So yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys found some amazing book recommendations. If you did, give this video a big fat thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys thought about this video, and also if you have any other recommendations of books that can make you fall in love with reading, let me know down in the comments below. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.